insurance companies in Wall Street. But the subtitle is, and that's why the Tea Party wackos, now those aren't my words, okay? That's what he's told you. That's why the Tea Party wackos, are right. I'm just going to read you 3 paragraphs out of this article. I thought, my husband and I were having coffee yesterday morning, and I said, oh my gosh, Sam, I'm going to take this to Parkersburg, and I'm going to read this. Again, this is about a book that talks about how the government was invented with Wall Street, essentially, and let us down, and partly why we are where we are today. He says, you really should be kind of mad at all those government bureaucrats running around taxing you, cutting your pensions and health care, giving your kids lousy schools, and harassing you for permits and fees. Safe food in the kitchen, decent public transportation and infrastructure, college you can afford, forget it. Government really doesn't do that stuff anymore. Not for any of us, and that's the road. When, and this is the heart of the matter here, when and where do you want government to work, and who gets to decide? Now, he says he's not a finance or economic expert, but the book matches what we've witnessed over the last 2 decades. What it says is a bunch of criminals or complete idiots blow up the United States economy, and we have to bail them out over and over and over again. I will tell you the name of the book. Remember the S&L crisis? How about Enron? And so you should be mad, too, because you pay taxes and you work hard if you're lucky enough to have a job. But the government will never bail you out. And then he ends, this is a seraph. The banks frankly own the place. Senator Dick Durbin, he's a Democrat from Illinois. Actually, I think the entire government is going to be from Illinois, from Chicago, really soon. The banks frankly own the place, says Dick Durbin, delegate from Illinois. He said in 2009, President Obama pretty much admitted the same thing at a meeting with top bankers that year. That was the year where everything was falling apart. He says, my administration is the only thing between you and the pitchforks. And I guess that's supposed to be the issue. I love this article. I'll leave it here if somebody wants to see what book it is that we're talking about. So the article goes on to discuss how the Congress and the Federal Reserve did not protect us. The government that we pay taxes to support, the salaries that we pay, they did not protect us from the likes of Goldman Sachs and AIG, who absolutely went on a spending binge that was rooted in greed so that they could invent all these different types of financial instruments without ever taking into consideration what would happen when anything went wrong. And here we are, trillions of dollars in debt. We, the people, bailed them out. And not only did the government not take our side, it colluded, it actually colluded with those companies. They got in bed with those 2 companies. Banking and in insurance industries when it repealed the Glass-Steagall Act, which actually said that banking and insurance could sell financial instruments, actually could get in the brokerage business. So that everybody could wear all kind of hats if they wanted to do it. Because just banking and insurance couldn't stand the fact that all they could do was sell CDs and insure people. They had to get into the financial industries. And that's what happened. And that's where it all started. So now, the government, our government, owns part of General Motors. Who in the world would have thought the government owns part of General Motors? You know what bugs me about that? Ford, who didn't take any government bailout, stayed afloat. Good business practice, stayed afloat. Now, if I were a stockholder in Ford, I'm not, or one of the officers of Ford, my taxpayer dollars went to bail out my competitor, GM. It isn't right. Free markets have to rule. It wasn't right. So the government owns part, we own part of GM, The government, we, are trillions of dollars in debt. That's trillions and growing all the time. The government is trying to tell us what we can and cannot feed our kids. Truly, truly, that is a scary thing. And the government now says that every single person has to have health insurance. I have a good friend, Kathy Hart-Price, who was my deputy at the Secretary of State's office right there, drives with me all over the state. And she said, now Betty, do you know also that my husband and I, Joe and I, were going out, going to redo our bathroom, and we were looking at commodes. And she said, now, the federal standard is you can have 1.6 gallons in your commode, right? A flush or something like that. Soon to be 1.3, soon to be 1.0, 1 gallon. And when is that going to go into effect, Kathy? 2013. So the government now is going to tell you how much water you can use in the toilet. I know that's an unsavory thing, but Kathy, I was saying this, Kathy said it. So what are we going to have? 2 flushes now? But they're now telling you how much water you can have in your toilets. So what are we the people supposed to do? Exactly what you, the Tea Party, is doing. Band together and work to get the federal government out of our pockets and off our backs, except for what is provided in the Constitution. I thank you so much for giving me a copy of that. A little pocket. I actually had to print the Constitution on a printer the other day because I didn't have my pocket Constitution. And this means providing for ourselves and demanding that our representatives in Washington remember who pays their salary and who they work for, and that's us. But you already know that because you're doing that, and you have my congratulations on that. I thank you for having me. I don't want to take more of Mark's time. You want me to talk about home rule now?
Yeah, just a
okay. I live in Charleston. We have a user for it. We were one of those cities, I guess 5 cities were able to decide that. And started out being, this is the 3rd year, it started out being $1 a week. The city council, 27 people, passed that. Now, I used to sit on Charleston City Council a long time ago. So I know what it's like to balance a budget. And if I get to the governor's mansion, I'm going to know in spades what it's like to try to balance a budget. I understand money. I understand finance. And I know it's very, very tough right now for all governments. Particularly when you have the pension plans and the health plans, the mandated health plans that you have to do, that you have to pay for now. But that $1 went to $2. And I hear that it's going to go to $3. I didn't really mind $1 a week. I said, okay, I'll just not get a cup of coffee at the one stop. And I don't know where it's going to end. It's okay. So I will say this. If you do get home rule, or whatever it is that you're going to have here in Parkersburg, you make sure of a couple things. You make sure that there is a ceiling on it, and it takes whatever it takes, 100% of city council or vote of the people, whatever it takes to raise that, because pretty soon it will be unmanageable. It is a free place for cities to get their revenue. I'm all for cities being able to function. They've got to have money to function. But you have, again, do you do it on, assess that $1 or whatever that fee is on people who work in the city?